Good morning. From the Bullock County Historical Society and from me and Bill on Savannah Avenue at Hideway. Today, we have three fine corporate sponsors. They are Glenn Davis and Associates, Josh Tucker PC, and Maxwell Reddick and Associates. All of these professionals provide top-notch services to our community, and I thank all of them for sponsoring BCHS. The history of face jugs was unfolded in the first Hideway tidbit on our collection. Devil jugs are basically a new spin-off of ugly jugs, and Bill and I have several. Here are some of them. The one on the far right is from Randy Tobias. He's a great potter in the upstate of South Carolina. We have several of his pieces. Here's a close-up with the devil's lips stitched shut, and it says, "Some evils are never spoken." Here's another piece of his which states, "True knowledge exists in knowing that you know nothing." The middle devil jug shown here is done by a Florida potter named Karen LaBarga. Her ugly jugs are really too pretty to be called ugly jugs. I just love her work. She's done a series of jugs on characters from the Bible, and we have several of these. A refresher from part one of my face jug tidbit is that North Georgia pottery is recognized as some of the finest in the world. Slaves began making jugs in the 1840s. Since slaves were not allowed a grave marker, the devil jug was used. Hopefully it would scare away the devil himself. Many face jugs have been found along the routes of the Underground Railroad, and they indicate how much they were valued. I guess the hot seat for face jugs in Georgia, or really pottery in general, would center around Huelsville, Georgia. Huelsville, this town, is in both Hall counties and Banks counties. It would get very confusing for the Postal Service, wouldn't it? Today, Huelsville is Georgia's Garden Pottery Center, with 3 shops making terracotta planters. At first, these potters served the needs of the agrarian neighbors by baking jugs for whiskey and sorghum syrup, and churns for dairy products, large churns for home brew, and pickle vegetables like sauerkraut. The first family that I'll talk about from Huelsville are the Huels. My favorite Huel was the matriarch, Grace Nail. Here are some of her jugs. I love the cheeks on these. She was a sweet lady, and I enjoyed visiting with her so much on several occasions. Early census records show that several families here listed pottery turner as their profession. There are over 20 Huel family members that have been potters through the years. They began making pots during the Civil War. Here is a large jug done by Chester Huel. Note that on the bottom where he signed this jug, he also put CSA, Confederate States of America. This family certainly leans a little right of center. Chester is now the patriarch of this family. Matthew is a 5th generation potter. Here is one of his larger jugs. The Huels now produce unglazed garden pots. They go through more than 12,000 pounds of clay weekly, which produces numerous pallets of pots. Another road trip, when we can, is to go to their annual fair, which is in the fall, and it's called Turnin' and Burnin'. It has everything from shape note singing, quilting demonstrations, and horse and buggy ride. I'm all in for this kind of festival. No, there will not be 135 vendors of junk. A spin-off from Huels Pottery is Cravens Pottery. We all remember going to Cravens at the Outlet Mall in Commerce. Yes, this is the same family. Wayne Huel began working with Billy Joe Craven in 1971. This is a jug made by Mark Craven. It has one of the largest noses I've ever seen on a face jug. This is a great piece by Lynn Craven. She is probably the most famous of the Craven family potters. The Ferguson family is also prominent in Gillsville. These are two great pieces of Bobby Ferguson. Bobby left us in 2005. The Crockers are another family that is associated with Lula, Georgia, and also Gillsville. This is a beautiful piece by Pauline Crocker, the matriarch of the family. All of these Potter families are thought to be mainly of Scotch-Irish descent, which is very prevalent in Georgia. Bill and I went to Belique China Factory in Northern Ireland on our honeymoon. This is a vase from there. I always love to show the similarities between the vase from Belique and the vase from Pauline. Aren't they so much alike, and aren't they both simply gorgeous? Steve Turpin is a favorite potter. He lives on 441 close to Homer, Georgia. I have several of his pieces. His large rooster jug is shown here. He sells these at an upscale gallery in Highlands, North Carolina. I bought mine directly from him and probably saved $200 or $400. This is my all-time favorite jug, and it's by Steve. It's both a ring jug, a face jug, and a rooster jug. 3 in 1, the trinity of face jugs. The detail is amazing, even with this rooster sticking out his tongue. Steve is super talented. This is a tiny little jug he gave me that his daughter threw. Another potter and his wife that I just adored was Wilfred and Nan Dean of Cleveland. The last time I had a visit with them, Sylvia Harville and I were meandering around North Georgia buying face jugs. I think it was about 5 years ago. This is an Adam and Eve face jug made by Wilfred. Notice the serpent on the apple tree, such detail. My biggest pair of jugs is this delightful cookie jars. They're huge. Wilford died in 2018, and then we lost Nan in 2019. We lost a ton of pottery talent when these two went to heaven. I promised in part 1 I would talk about Marvin Bailey. He is just fabulous. This is a favorite of mine, a face jug, holding a face jug. If we did our entire collection, we would have to do parts 3, parts 4, and parts 5. It's time to move on with another tidbit subject. I will close with something for you to ponder when you see a face jug. In Scripture, God is referred to as the divine potter, who created man in his own image from dust or earth. There seems to be a poetic connection here as I contemplate man creating pottery, face jugs, in his own image. It is as though our collective imagination of the divine, God, or mundane, pottery, is bounded by our own contemplation of ourselves, our beautifully functional physical bodies, which house our unfathomably mysterious souls. Until next week, bye.